Alrighty, race fans, we're going to continue on with our set review series. We've done a lot of things so far. We've seen a lot of interesting sets, sets that have a lot of fancy box art. We found that once you open them up and play with them, they may be a little less than what you anticipated. So we're going to take a look at a lifelike set. I'd have to check the date on it as to when it was made. I'm going to guess probably somewhere around 2008, but we'll verify that here in a little bit. But we'll walk through this just like you would be if you went to the store and picked this thing up and opened it up and tried it for the first time. This is California Freestyling, excuse me, is a skateboard set, and they released this in a couple of different versions, maybe a little bit different box art, but essentially all the same sort of thing. They took the track, molded it in gray. The skateboard cars had front and rear guide pins, and then the controllers had reverser buttons, which allowed you to run the cars forward and reverse. And you can see that they had some things to kind of emulate what would happen on a real skateboard track, maybe. As we've seen on a couple of other sets that have really fancy box art, this one's not so much like that. It doesn't really get your fantasy juices going. Maybe in an opposite sort of world, that maybe once we open this thing up and set it up and run it, it goes together easy and runs good. We'll soon find out. Let's take a look at the back real quick. All right, it's pretty typical what Lifelike did. There's boilerplate rear end on it. Nothing that really told you much more than what was on the set. Maybe some things on the ends and that, but certainly nothing much more than that. All right, let's open it up and see what we got in the box. All right, comparing it to the set we just reviewed recently, the Mattel Loop set, this one here comes in its own tray. The puzzle pieces are all nicely nested. As you can see, that they give you places to put the items back in, so you just don't really have a huge mess of wadding something back up. The packaging is done very well. All the pieces are organized logically. You've got the two cars right here in bags, and then we have the instruction sheets over here. So let's take a look at those and see if we can find a date. Alright, there is a code in this upper corner up here that looks like perhaps 2007. So that's really what I'm going to have to go by. The nice thing about this, they actually have Spanish instruction sheets. So that shows that they were reaching out to Spanish-speaking audiences, and that's something I've not seen in any slot car sets so far. Interesting that they did that. Okay, so we got the track put together. It actually went together very well. The lifelike track with the slide lock, you just don't really have to mess with it. It went together very easy. There wasn't really any problems to speak of. The only criticism I have at this point, without even running it, is maybe there's not enough bridge supports included with it. I have tested the cars. We do have continuity, and we're going to see if this thing works. Okay, let's see what happens here. Wow, one's off. Huh. Alright, try this again. Try not to press the thumb controller. Wow, that's not too bad. Let's pause this and marshal our cars. Alright, this is one of the cars or the skateboard figures. You can see that there's actually quite a bit of detail involved in it. There's T chassis that they used underneath them. They molded the wheels in red and guide pin front and rear. And to be proactive, we went on ahead and put a set of super tires on one car to see how that's going to run. Yeah, that's a little bulky. Let's try one with super tires here. A lot of speed going up that ramp there. You got to burn off. I can't drive. All right, just a quick summary here. What we found is, like every other slot car set, the cars run better when you put some better rear tires on them. Probably if I worked with this one a little bit more with the existing car and really try to drive it, I could probably drive it pretty fair with the existing tires, but the aftermarket tires really help quite a bit. You know, a few laps you kind of get the hang of it. So relative to some of these other sets that we reviewed, this one seems to be less frustrating and probably has the most possibilities. Alright, final wrap up here. The set went together very easy. It wasn't very frustrating. Lifelike track tends to go together very well with the slide lock. It's a substantial track compared to some of the other brands of track. One of the things that some of these other brands have suffered over time is back during the oil crisis in the early 70s, a lot of the manufacturers took material out of their products simply to save resin, and they would thin up these pieces back in here in the thickness, the wall thicknesses of the track to save resin, and they've never gone back after that. Lifelike, it doesn't appear, ever did that. So these pieces, once you pick them up and handle them, they're not flimsy. I mean, they've got a lot of substance to them. And with the slide locks, I've seen very few broken tabs in this area in here. Every now and then you get one, but not very often. So the set went together very easy, wasn't frustrating. The stacking bridges are well engineered. You can stack them up to any height that you want with the way that they're designed. This particular set could probably have stood to have a few more in them to really make the layout less flexible, but they do give you the basics of it. And as any set, the cars could stand to have better rear tires. With this here, it isn't so much maybe the diameter of the tire as the size of the tire, but that could be easily corrected in the future. But other than that, it's a pretty solid set. I liked it. Like I said, the frustration level of setting it up and getting it to run right away was far better than these other sets that we reviewed, like the March-On Skyfighter or the Tyco Loop set. Thank you.